Hello, BookTube. I quite frankly needed a break from the news, so I did what I always do. I went to the Brattle Bookshop in Boston. It's a used bookstore in downtown Boston, full of books at reasonable prices, always changing their stock, and also with a sale lot next door that has thousands more books for $1, $3, and $5. And I was a little bit too down the rabbit hole of constantly refreshing my news feed, so I decided to just hang it up and go to the shop first thing in the morning. And it was the right decision. It always is the right decision. I met a couple of new friends there and did a bunch of browsing and found a bunch of stuff. So I've got a pile of books that I want to show you. I want to keep in mind here, I want to stress that these books are not all just coming here and then staying somewhere. They are coming and they are going. In every Brattle haul that I make, I am hoping for maybe a couple of keepers, but often not even that. So just so you know, it's not a Collier Brothers situation here. I'm not just accumulating all of these books. They are going out as well as they are coming in. But you never know. You know, the Brattle sale lot is $1, $3, and $5. That means you can take a chance on anything you find. And that means I do take chances. Absolutely. I consider it to be a slow motion and slightly higher priced version of the public library where I can pick some things that aren't going to have me out of pocket much and see if I like them, see what I think of them. Although a lot of these things I already know what I think. A lot of these things I have had at one time or another. Some of them I've read a million times, but not the first one. The first one is mass market paperback. We have a bunch of mass market paperbacks, but the first one is... the first one raises a philosophical question. Of course, you know how much I love philosophy on this channel. The first one raises a philosophical question of when one BookTube event blurs into another. You've seen this already at the Brattle and elsewhere. There is a BookTube event coming up in November, a new BookTube event called Dr. November, which is dedicated to spy and espionage, super agent fiction, that sort of thing. But there's a great BookTube event that takes place in the summer called Garb August, where we read garbage and revel in it. And the first book that I want to show you here very likely is a combination of those two. It's very likely a blurring of those two. This is by an author who goes under the name of Rod Gray, and it's called The Lady from LUST, League of Undercover Secret... What does it actually stand for? The League of Undercover Spies and Terrorists. This is The Lady from LUST, and this is number 6. I have no idea how long this series went, but this is called To Russia with LUST. And there is our main character in her work clothes. Let me read you a little bit of this. Lust rocks the Kremlin when Eve Drum, our super seductive secret agent 006, swings into action at top-level Moscow orgy. Her mission is really a hairy one this time. She has to compromise a high Soviet official and get him to throw a few big secrets our way. Poor Eve. Some of the things she's learned at that orgy just can't be classified. And then there's the danger everywhere. Concealed amid the tangle of Russian bodies are goodness knows how many counter-spies just waiting for 006 to expose herself. I will not read you much, but I want to read you one passage from this thing. This is 006 narrating herself. My inner muscles worked as they had with that gas vial in the helicopter. My boyfriend was really panting by this time, while my head was echoing with the mental thunder of Tchaikovsky. Now, I don't know if this legitimately counts for Dr. November, or if it should instead go to the pile for next year's Garb August. But I have a sordid confession to make, which is that since I found this book, between then and when I'm filming this video, I've read a chunk of it. I was just irresistibly curious. I say that Rod Gray is a pen name. I just assumed that this is all written under a pen name. And I don't know anything about this. I'm sure that this does not have a Wikipedia entry or anything like that. I don't know anything about this. I'd never seen this series before. It must have been from before I was working in a commercial bookstore selling books, because I think I would have remembered this. But I don't know anything about this. I don't know who Rod Gray is, but I know I've read Rod Gray before. I know that I have. I know that Rod Gray is not just a room full of nameless hacks. I read a chunk of this, a small chunk of it. It's not that big a book, thank God. I will read the whole thing. Maybe not for Dr. November. But I read a chunk of it so that by the time I was done, I read about 40 pages. And I thought, not only is the author of this book a pro, there's just no mistaking it. There's no mistaking it. But also, it's a pro I know I've read. I know I've read this author before. You can change your name, but no hack author who's churning out The Lady from Lust is going to bother to change their tonal register. You can change your tonal register. It's a really fascinating thing to try to do, but it takes time, and I'm sure that this was written in a weekend. so no author's going to do that, which means that the author who wrote this is using the same tonal register that he uses in other stuff, and I almost can nail it. I almost know a name or two to put to this, but I know I've read this author before, probably a lot of this author, but I couldn't tell you now. I have no idea who Rod Gray is, but this was kind of fun. So that is, we'll start off there. The next one we do is also a BookTube event. Also from last summer, that is June on the Range. Michael K. Vaughan's event, which is dedicated to reading Westerns. And the Brattle right now is unboxing and disseminating out into the shop and into the sale lot a massive amount of Westerns. Mostly in those old series, Lone Star, Long Arm, Gunsmith, Trailsman, all that those sorts of Western series that for all I know are still going on. I cannot stress enough that if you love those kinds of books, and maybe you live in a used book desert, or you don't trust getting a lot on eBay or whatever, if you live anywhere near the Brattle, go. You could scoop up a huge amount of them for $1 a piece. I am not going to do that. I have plenty of Westerns for this year and next year, but I found one that, of course, called to me. This is the Trailsman. This is the Trailsman number 176. The name on it is John Sharp. I'm sure that is a pseudonym. I'm sure that these things were churned out by a committee. But this is Curse of the Grizzly. And again, to quote Matt Hooper, those proportions are essentially correct. This is about a marauding grizzly bear, among other things. A giant grizzly man-killer was on the prowl in the Colorado Rockies. But the blood-crazed beast was only one of the savage dangers facing Sky Fargo. That's his name, Sky Fargo. In a tooth and claw struggle in which only the fiercest would survive. If there's a grizzly theme in here, I will certainly read it. I won't read it right away. I'll save it for June on the Range. Then we have a science fiction classic. Found this as a really good condition, mass market paperback for $1, so I grabbed it. I don't have this as mass market paperback. This is Hal Clement, who I think even the most generous Hal Clement fan would say he only wrote one masterpiece, and it's this, Mission of Gravity. Really like the look of this thing, so I grabbed it. I don't think I will ever do a systematic reread of Hal Clement. I really don't think I will. But I could easily see myself rereading this book. And now I have a neat little mass market paperback. Then what do we got here? Two more John Carter of Mars books. I showed you last time at the Brattle, I found two John Carter of Mars books out in the sale lot for $1 a piece with the old Michael Whelan covers. And they were the Chessmen of Mars and the Synthetic Men of Mars, the two books in the series that I don't particularly like. I found two others today out in the sale lot. There's a whole set inside the store, but I already have the set and I have ebooks of the set, so I'm not gonna pay inside the store prices, even though inside the store is not expensive. I'm not gonna do that. But $1 a piece. I found a Princess of Mars, the first one, which is tough to find. Usually, when you find the series of these books, you find everything but this. This is the first book in the series, and then the third book in the series, The Warlord of Mars, which really completes books 1, 2, and 3 of John Carter of Mars. Really, books 2 and 3 are kind of a trilogy. They're an arc. There is Woola on the cover, John Carter's faithful dog, Woola. I got these two for $1 a piece. They've seen better days, but I wasn't going to leave them behind for that kind of money. And then two more things. These things happened in pairs. I found two murder mysteries. I don't like going to the Brattle without coming away with murder mysteries. It just feels wrong. I found two murder mysteries by Phoebe Atwood Taylor. These are A.Z. Mayo murder mysteries. And some of you who might know these books will automatically be thinking of those uniform white mass market paperbacks. By the Mysterious Press, I completely forgot that a lot of these things had earlier paperbacks. And I found a couple of them today. Probably there were more there that I just didn't see. The first one is Figure Away. See, this is not the usual setup of these things. And unfortunately, those Mysterious Press white paperbacks, they're kind of square-shaped. I've had the whole set many, many times. I've recommended these books to many, many people, but unfortunately, those mass-market paperbacks are poorly made. You'll be lucky if you get through reading one of them once before it starts to blow apart, especially before the text block disengages from the wraparound cover. These things might actually be harder, even though they're older. I found Figure Away, and I found The Six Iron Spiders. So that's fantastic. I didn't know that this is a great series. I absolutely love it. I know that yesterday for my Corker video, I talked about a bygone Cape Cod. These also are set in a bygone Cape Cod of almost exactly the same time as the house on Nauset Marsh. The main character is A.Z. Mayo, who is not a trained detective. He's not really trained at anything. He's sort of the little town's indispensable man. Every little town has one. And he's the town's indispensable man, and when people start dying, he automatically starts getting consulted. He's consulted a lot more than the local police are. I just noticed the weird horror movie lighting effect that's going on there. I don't know how to fix that, so we'll just have to leave it. I wonder if contrasting light would make a difference. Not much. No. Well, anyway, I've been dealing with dodging light for days now, and it's going to be a little bit more even this week, I'm hoping. But I haven't reread these two individual A.Z. Mayo mysteries in quite some time. So now I have trashy little mass market paperbacks. They were $1 a piece, so if they don't hold up, no harm, no foul to any of these things. Same true with any of these things. Then we have another murder mystery. This is Penguin, I believe. This is a Penguin mass market paperback of an Elizabeth George. I never see those. So for $1, I grabbed this. This is A Banquet of Consequences with that lovely understated cover. This is an Inspector Lindley novel. I love this series. I have all of them as ebooks, but getting a little Penguin mass market paperback, I always tell myself the little mass market paperbacks don't matter when it comes to crowded book space. But actually they do, of course, because they add up, as anything does. But I don't have to keep it. I can just reread it. I have the ebook. I can just reread it as mass market paperback and then set it back into the wild. Then we have a couple of biographies. A lot of these things happened in twos today. We have John Buchan, who is the author of the 39 Steps, a thriller writer, a writer who you could easily dust off for Dr. November. He did a biography of Sir Walter Scott, and it's really, really good. This is really entertaining stuff, so I grabbed it. I, of course, don't have a copy of it. I don't think I have any John Buchan in ebook form. And I don't have any of him in print form. I don't even have the 39 Steps. I don't have anything. This is the only thing I have by him. But this is probably the thing I would most want. This probably is. I mean, Sir Walter Scott led a fascinating life, in my opinion. And this author can't write boring prose, so it's a perfect match. Then the other biography was the Brattle sale lot telling me to calm down, as it periodically does. I went to one of the things, you don't ever go to the Brattle sale lot wanting something. You don't go to the sale lot with a plan. You can go to the inside of the shop that way. But if you go to the sale lot, you're at the mercy of karma. And if you go to the sale lot and say, I'm looking for this, that, or the other specific book, you won't find them and you won't find anything else. You have to go with the flow for the Brattle sale lot. So I didn't go in with a plan. But I confess, a bratty idea was in my mind. Because today is a federal holiday in the United States. This is Columbus Day. The Brattle is open today, but a lot of places aren't. There's no mail. There's no package delivery. No government offices are open. Anything like that. And this morning, when I was thinking about going to the Brattle, and when I was on my way there, I was thinking about that, and it made me feel bratty. It made me feel contrarian, because Columbus's name is hated now in the 21st century. in the 21st century, the idea that you would celebrate Columbus on Columbus Day is anathema. And as you know, if you watch this channel, I don't like bullying social movements. I don't like social movements telling me what I can or cannot like, what I can or cannot approve of. And so I was thinking, wouldn't it be great to find a good biography of Christopher Columbus at the Brattle today, on Columbus Day? And then I got to the Brattle and I found a biography by the author I would want. Only it wasn't his biography of Columbus, and that sort of stopped me and made me think, in this particular case, the social bullying is right. Columbus was a horrible, horrible person. And he not only ushered in incredible suffering for a gigantic number of people personally, but he also did intentionally. He knew, he wanted that to introduce that suffering. It wasn't, oh my, I've made a mistake and now a whole bunch of people are going to rush in and victimize people. He went to the New World in search of slaves. Not just in search of spice or gold, but in search of slaves. So in this limited instance, the blue-haired social media scolds on Twitter are right. It's wrong to honor Columbus's memory. No one in his lifetime liked him, even his own children. His monarchs certainly didn't like him. No one liked him, and they had reason to. He was venal, deceitful, violent, sinful. He was a horrible human being. So, although he was nearly supernatural as a navigator, and although great books have been written about him, when I saw the Brattle sale lot gently chiding me for my bratty attitude, I took it to heart. If there had been a Columbus biography in the sale lot, I would have turned it down. Instead, I found one of these old Time Life copies of Samuel Eliot Morrison's biography of John Paul Jones. This is what I'm talking about. These things, Samuel Eliot Morison also wrote a great biography of Christopher Columbus that I don't know that I'll ever read again. I would have passed it up. Every time I get a copy, I give it away. So I don't have a copy now. And Samuel Eliot Morison barely exists at all in ebook form. I don't know why that is, unless I just haven't been looking in the right places. But his biography of John Paul Jones is great. The only thing wrong with it, I'll keep this, of course, as long as I can. The only thing wrong with it is that these Time Incorporated books don't hold up well. They really don't. It's hard to read one of these things and keep it in good shape. The covers are really tough cardboard, but the binding is terrible and tends to just pull big blocks of text apart when you're reading it. We'll see. Actually, I found 2 Samuel Eliot Morison books today, and both of them have binding issues. Both of them are. I actually love this whole Time Life series. I love their choices. I love the editorial decisions that they made. I wish, if they were more durable, I would want these, all of them, and no other format. This would be the John Paul Jones format that I would take if this were more durable. I'll be delicate with it, but there's one of these Time Incorporated books in this room, and it's held together. It's Man of the Renaissance, and it's held together with rubber bands. So I'm sure that fate awaits this. But I found another Samuel Eliot Morison, also with crappy binding. This is the Maritime History of Massachusetts, and this is these old Century paperbacks that have this wonderful textured matte finish on the front and back, but they also are poorly bound. So they don't hold together. They don't hold up. I forget how many copies of this thing I have read and had it fall apart underneath me, so that I just have to keep replacing it. This is a series of vignettes, series of historical. It's not a narrative from front to back. It's a series of historical vignettes about the maritime history of Massachusetts. So Boston Harbor, early Boston clipper ships, trade in Salem, the China trade, and all that sort of thing. Morison is great. He's utterly captivating to read. I love this book. I don't have a copy because the last copy that I had looked exactly like this, and it fell apart on me. The problem with these Time Incorporated books, there are hardcovers of these, but they don't have these weird, funky 60s, 70s style covers. The hardcovers of these things are fairly sturdy, but they're all this uniform red cover with gold piping. No artwork at all, just bland red covering. All of them look that way. So I kind of like these designs better, but same thing with the Century paperbacks. There's just no way around it. I will read these things for $1 a piece, and I will give them $1 worth of reading. And if they don't survive, well, that's the way a book wants to die. So that's their dream death. I will do what I can. Then more twos. We have 2 volumes. I think these are the only 2 volumes in this series of Japan readers. 2 paperbacks. These will not stand up to heavy usage. I'm unfortunately going to give them heavy usage. These are readers from Pantheon's Asia library. So they're anthologies of contemporary writings on a subject. Volume 1 is Imperial Japan. It's edited by these 3, but the table of contents is enormous. All sorts of journals and letters and essays, newspaper periodicals, newspaper editorials, that you'd be hard-pressed to find them anywhere else. And they're all together in this book for Imperial Japan, and then the next volume is Postwar Japan, which is twice as big. This is going to... I admit, the Imperial Japan it's a time period, and it's a lot of active players who really interest me. But this is... I'm going to learn a lot from this book, an enormous amount. So I may go out of order and read this one first. Or read through it anyway. I mean, the thing about volumes like these is that, they're not meant to be read cover to cover. You're supposed to bounce around in them. These are all set up according to different subject headings. Politics, trade, war. So they invite jumping all around, and I will do that. And then the last 2 books that I got were the hardcovers of the day. I only found 2 hardcovers. They were question marks both. They were both dirt cheap, so I didn't have any compunction about any of these things. And they are both dovetail with Dr. November, which is a booktube event about espionage, which is coming up in November. It's spy fiction, secret agent fiction, but also nonfiction. So I got one of each for these hardcovers. I got a John le Carré. It felt wrong to be at the Brattle, see a really cheap hardcover of John le Carré, knowing that Dr. November is coming up, and leave it behind. Even though I think I might have an e-copy of this. I think I have e-copies of all of le Carré. I'm not 100% sure if I have this one. Didn't ring a bell. This is A Legacy of Spies. And this is the kind of luxury that you get if you are an institution as a writer. If you're an institution as a writer, Tom Clancy, James Clavell, Once Upon a Time, Danielle Steele, John le Carré, then you don't need anything on your cover. You can have a very nice picture of yourself. That is a wonderful picture of a writer at work. You don't need any fluff because your book's going to sell anyway. This is A Legacy of Spies is from 2017. I think I reviewed this for somebody. Boston Globe, maybe? I don't remember who, but I think I reviewed this. So I grabbed it because I realized belatedly that I'm going to be doing a huge amount of spy reading in November. I'm going to put a huge amount of emphasis on this event. So I might as well have a stockpile of print and paper books in addition to all the ebooks. And then finally, the last one, also Dr. November, but this is nonfiction. This is David Kahn, who was a cryptology specialist for the whole of his writing career, and this is his epic, Hitler's Spies. German intelligence during World War II. Gigantic thing. It still has the Barnes & Noble sticker on it from when it was remaindered at Barnes & Noble, and when the Barnes & Noble store slogan was, if you paid full price for it, you didn't get it at Barnes & Noble. That is, to put it mildly, not Barnes & Noble's slogan anymore. But this was a hesitation. This was $1, I think. And I'll gladly give it I haven't reread this in decades. I'll gladly give it a reread for Dr. November. The only hesitation here is that the thing I really want is the trade paperback of this. The trade paperback didn't look anything like this. It was one of those formats that trade paperbacks for history briefly had, that have an original wraparound illustration in the middle of the jacket, front and back. If I'd been thinking ahead of time, I would have brought in an example of that. But you see it all the time. Time for Trumpets, Hitler's U-boat war, Silent War, about submarine warfare in World War II, The Nightmare Years by William Shirer. You see the design is the one that I like. That's the design that I like for this book. Had I been thinking, had Dr. November been an event already in our minds, when David Murphy and I were last at the Book Barn, I would have looked for that trade paperback there. It would almost certainly have been there. But this was right there. It was right under my hand. It was $1. it's a little bit unwieldy. I am more and more a creature of e-reading, where there is no hefting, there is no fighting with the book, there is no, dust jacket, and did I wrinkle this, and did I crease that? I'm more and more a creature of e-reading that simply has none of those problems. The main sort of waltz for me for a couple of years now has been finding the right e-reader, an e-reader that I like the most, that really jives with me, because some of them don't. But I don't think I have an ebook for this either. And David Kahn is such a terrific writer. He's just, I'm assuming that he's dead. But then again, I'm always wrong about that, so I could be wrong here. But he's a terrific, terrific writer. And this book is epic in scope. It's just amazing. He fills it with so many personalities. I loved it when I first read it. It's just, I know it's a little bit of an odd feeling, because I know I'm not keeping this volume. If I can't find an ebook, if one of you can't find an ebook, then I will certainly want the trade paperback of this, not the hardcover. But for Dr. November, absolutely. So there you go. That was a trip to the Brattle. Take my mind off the real world. Worked really well. It was a beautiful, crisp morning. All the humidity that I complained about is gone, at least temporarily. So it was wonderful to just sort of go and commune with the books and meet a couple of new friends. That was lovely. So we have Hitler Spies for Dr. November. We have A Legacy of Spies, also for Dr. November. We have Imperial Japan and Postwar Japan. Source books, really. These are anthologies of contemporary writings. We have 2 Samuel Eliot Morison, his biography of John Paul Jones, and his collection of essays about maritime New England. We have John Buchan's biography of Sir Walter Scott. And then a bunch of mass-market paperbacks. So I have Elizabeth George. The Lindley books are so good. They're so much worth it. Let's see here. 2 A.Z. Mayos in pre-Mysterious Press paperbacks. 2 John Carter Marses to slowly fill out a sort of reading beater copy of these Michael Whelan editions. Let's see here. Hal Clement's Mission of Gravity. A Trailsman novel about a marauding grizzly bear. And finally, The Lady from Lust to Russia with Lust. This is terrific cover artwork. And the book it's trash, obviously, but the part of it that I read, it was trash, but it was knowing trash, and it was done in a really professional way. Whoever wrote this was not just an anonymous hack for, who is this? Tower Books? Whoever wrote this wrote a mountain of stuff. Including, I am certain, things that I've read. Every aspect of it seemed familiar. So I might dig around a little and see what the reason is there, or maybe not. Maybe the fun is to read the whole thing and see if I can guess. But there you go. That was my Brattle trip for this week. Nice and crisp and cool. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.